Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be introducing a new series called the Backtesting with me. This will be our first week of this series. We'll be going over the last week's price action on Euro USD, as this is the pair I mostly trade. We'll be starting on Sunday, July the 16th, and basically what I want to introduce to this series is going through the higher time frames all the way to lower time frames and backtesting, kind of showing you guys how I look at the markets. So, what we want to do first when backtesting or looking at the markets is that we want to start in the higher time frames, usually the daily, just to get an overall view of the markets and the direction it might be heading. So, if you look at the markets on your USD, what you can see is that we've been basically making, new highs and new higher lows, and that's the trend that we have at the moment. So, we have a low printed here, we have a high, and then we have a low, a new lower high that fails to break this previous structure point down here. So this new lower high makes a new higher high that then prints a new lower high. So from right here, what we're seeing is that we're printing we printed a new low, they printed a new high, they printed a new lower high, etc. So you could tell now that the market just basically follows this pattern the whole way through. You can see it's doing the same deal over here. And all we want to do once we see that and we get the overall trend and bias is that we want to mark off any relevance points that we might come back into, because usually when the market prints a new high, we want to see it come back and do some type of retracement to give us some valid entries or just follow the overall trend of the market. So what we see here on the daily too is that we had this imbalance in this area that got mitigated, and then from here what happened is that it broke this previous structure point. Sorry, one second. Over here. And then once it printed these new highs, we had another pullback into this imbalance down here that then went and printed a new high. So when we're looking at these areas, what we want to see is basically where the momentum came to then break the previous structural points of the new highs. So we could see that from here, this last imbalance, is that this is where the momentum came that actually broke this previous high. So what we want to do then is mark off this imbalance, and we're not going to place a limit or anything, but we just want to have have this in the back of our minds as a possible reversal area. So daily POI reversal area. So we just want to keep this in mind for us. So then what we do is we drop down to the 4-hour. And all we're doing on the 4 hours, a similar thing. We're just getting an overall view so we can see that it's doing, the new higher lows, the new higher highs, the new higher lows, new higher highs, new higher lows, new higher highs, etc. We just want to get an overall view since we already looked at the daily. We won't get too much on here, but we're just trying to get a little bit of an idea. You could see these highs being broken, over here. Okay, beautiful. Just to keep those in mind. Then what we want to do is drop down to the 1-hour. And then from the 1-hour, we just want to get same type of deal. A look at the markets and see what it's doing. So we can see, yeah, it was printing these new highs and these new lows, but the price action wasn't very clean or clear, in my opinion, because what you want to see when it's making new highs and new lows is deep retracements into the deep retracements basically back to the previous structure points. So if you see a new high being printed, you want to see a deep retracement into the point that caused it, and then a new high, and then a deeper retracement to these areas, etc. And that's how this is kind of more of clean price action, right? It's seeing deeper retracements into the area, But then right here, you can see there's not really any deep retracements. It's just little slight retracements. So just keeping that in mind, it's not super clean. But we just want to look at the 1 hour again. We only use the higher time frame just to kind of get a trend bias and see where the market's heading. So once we do that, we want to drop down into the 15-minute and see what the most recent price action is telling us. So as we saw before, that we know this printed a new high up in here. And then at the beginning of the week, I would be just watching and seeing what the market does and using my session. So basically what I do is that there's 3 sessions that you can look at. I personally only trade London session. Sorry, let me delete this. So I personally only trade London session. London session. Okay. And then, so with my trading style, one of the main things I focus on is liquidity. So I use liquidity basically for everything in my trading strategy. It's what makes my trading strategy. It's the only reason why I can trade the way I trade. And I'll give you some examples with this back testing why liquidity is so good and how you can use it to your benefit. And for me personally, smart money concepts is dead. So liquidity is the only way to trade. Liquidity inducements at least. Liquidity. Liquidity. So with this strategy, basically what I do is that I have my Asian range sessions on, and this will show me that this is Asia right here. This is London, and this is New York. So what we do with my strategy is that Asian and the way I look at the markets is a liquidity build-up area. It's where liquidity is built. There's a lot of traps in there to get these retail traders in, and we use just the Asian side of the market, the Asian session side of the market, as a way for us to indicate the range, also the liquidity points, and what the market is doing and how it could take traders out. So at the beginning of the week, we're starting on Sunday, July the 16th. And we're just gonna watch. Basically, we're gonna use the replay tool here. We're gonna watch what is being said on Asian session and also the previous days. So if you look at the previous day of the markets, we had this Asian session high getting purged right here. And then we had from the London session kind of these equal highs being printed. Even though there's some room on it, these are pretty much equal highs in my opinion. It's super close, and this is a valid liquidity point. So you could see. Let me pull out my text tools. Sorry, I suck at finding these tools. Liquidity. Point right here. This is Asian high range. Asian high range. So if we're just looking back at the markets, we're going to see this. Break structure right here. So with my strategy, what I'm looking for is basically retail traps, a lot of smart money traps. I look to see where retailers that are using smart money concepts and just support resistance, trend lines, etc. that don't use the Asian range indicators, that don't really think about Asian session as a big pool of liquidity where they might be placing orders. So from here, what I see is that this push, this leg from Asian high to from down here, basically what it did is it took out Asian lows and it took out this previous structure point that then was in my mind considered, a smart money concept, a smart money trap. Sorry, smart money trapped, and it also is a smart money concept type of trade because it's following. You got the BOS. You got the people placing their orders up here. So this, in my opinion, is a smart money trap because we want to see Asian high being purged. So once we see that, we see this point here as it purged all the orders that were stuck here, and then it started to reverse. So for me right here, this would be considered an inducement area, IDM, inducement from here. So then what I'm just doing, I'm just looking at the previous week to kind of get a mindset, like a viewpoint of the market. And then what we're going to see here is that there's this demand area that was respected. Over here. So now we kind of have our range and what's happening in the market. And what I'm going to look for is to see what Asian session does and then see if it takes one of these relative liquidity points. Because when we have all these highs being built here and we have these lows being respected, these are both considered, liquidity points. We want to see in our trading strategy is that there's some type of BOS, right, as in here, that is created that is enticing traders that trade smart money concepts or retail theories to then get in and place orders up here because you're taught throughout your entire trading career, that if you see a BOS like this, that's a deep BOS, that you should then try and take a trade from an area of supply as in here. So you would place your limits and then hopefully wait that it will come back in, tap you in, etc. And you're placing your stops above these areas, which is then getting induced by the institutions that are dumping the money into the markets to then take your orders and your money and then reverse it another way. So we're just going to watch the markets, see what it does. So we're going to drop down to the 5-minute and we're just going to watch Asian session and see what it does here. Let's do 3 time. We're just going to watch what it does. So for Asian session, basically what I can see here is that we got, this liquidity being built up here. We got also liquidity being built up in here. This is around Frankfurt time too. So we always keep an eye at Frankfurt too. And then we have Asian highs here. Asian highs. And then we have Asian lows. And what we want to do then is just watch and then see what happens with Asian high, Asian low range and see if there's any liquidity points that get swept. So just letting it play out. And then boom, we have London open. So far we have nothing super clear for the strategy that I like to trade. No clear liquidity points being taken out. We're just kind of playing in this range. We took out Asian highs, but then we have this resting liquidity in here. Let's check the 15-minute quickly. We have this resting liquidity in here, so we wouldn't look to take anything quite yet. We would just let it play out. Okay. Let's do this quickly so we can get a better viewpoint on the markets. Okay, you see now we're kind of building these double tops, equal highs. This is again, people are getting enticed to take orders here, take sells, so they got some early sellers coming in. Just see what happens. And we want to drop down to the 1 minute. Just watch the market, see what it's going to do from here. So yeah, we have these equal highs printed. We had, a break of structure right here. We have people then looking to get into trades right in here. They're thinking, okay, we had the confirmation. We had equal highs, right? We had the confirmation of the BOS. It failed to make a new high. Let's place our orders in here. So this would be considered our smart money trap. Okay, boom. Then we have a sweep of the smart money trap. We have all these highs being purged. So now we're just going to watch price action, see what it does. So we got the market pulling back. We would want to see some type of break of previous structure. Just keep watching. So we would either want to see some type of break of previous structure after the inducement, which is right here. After a purge of liquidity, let's say an inducement. And then what we want to see too is that there's either a break of structure, or we want to see a fail of a new high after this, because it's respected this demand area right here. So we would want to see, a new high not being printed, so it fails to make a new high, and then another BOS, and then go from there. So let's see what happens. Let's see the 5-minute. Yeah, so now if you look at the 5-minute, right, you can see it respected this area here, the supply area, tapped into it. It didn't print a new high. So this is kind of what we're looking for in our strategy. This is perfect. Okay, and then now we have a BOS. So now from here, what we would be looking to do is place our order. And for us personally, our order would be somewhere in here and above these highs. Let's see what happens. Boom, tapped in. Okay, then we'd be targeting the lows here. And let's see what happened. So yeah, you can see here, basically we were close to getting stopped out. And it makes sense because what happened is we created this liquidity pool here. Right, so we had a liquidity pool. Being printed. That was then swept. That then mitigated the last, there is a little imbalance in here, but let's say it mitigated this little last imbalance of relevance. This one right here, there's a little slight one, but doesn't cause as big a reaction as this. So we're going to keep this right here. So we go back to the 5-minute. Our entry was right here. So your entry would be somewhere in there. And then you would want to target. So basically what we want to do at this point is target these Asian lows. Because this is the last major liquidity point. And then boom. 1 to 5 banked. With the strong push down, we would just watch. We would take partials. So this would be our first partial point. Then where would be the next major liquidity? It would probably be down here. Or would be down there, not probably. And then we would just mark that off. And this would be our second take profit area. Boom. So this would be our first day of the backtesting episode. Leave a comment and subscribe and let me know what you think.